Columbus, Ohio.
Here we are, Cinco de Mayo. Well, I'll tell you what, here we are at episode 3 of Rock Ain't Pretty. It is our Cinco de Mayo episode. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Amazing, Doug. How you doing, brother?
Good. It's good to see you guys. I'm Doug Blessing from Rock House with my friends Josh and Angela from The Pretty Filth. Here we are, Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, and by the way, we are Ned Nettylander and Lucky Day and Dusty Bottoms, the three amigos. Oh.
That's as good as it's going to get. That's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, well, that was take 47 after.
Exactly, right? We'll go ahead and ride with that.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys, man. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we were doing a little bit of the chicken enchiladas tonight for dinner, and
so good.
I know that a lot of people have been digging on the meat tradiciones and Gehanna there, taking Angela's advice and getting their margaritas.
Meat tradition. Look.
They gave it to you.
The glass I stole from Don Pablo's 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Don Pablo's.
Not that I encourage stealing, but hey.
Yeah, for all of our thief viewers, we support you.
All our tree cutters and thief viewers.
That's right. Along with our tree cutters and friends.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I bet there's a lot of people that we know that probably have at least one glass from Don Pablo's.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
This glass is like
call it what it is.
20 pounds.
A shit ton of salsa bowls and salsa dishes. Yeah, big time.
And I actually believe that I don't think I have it anymore, but for a long period of time, I did have one of those tortilla warmers that they drop off the table.
Oh
yeah.
That's funny,
I think we have some salsa. We have little blue salsa dishes.
Yeah. Well, I think we all got really lucky. This last weekend was absolutely amazing. Saturday was perfection.
Yeah.
I know we spent some time out at the sandbar. Having some beverages and listening to some yacht rock, and Sunday turned out really well too. So super stoked to be here, man, and super stoked to have our Cinco de Mayo Rock Ain't Pretty.
No doubt.
I'd like to address the elephant man in the room.
Do tell.
That for half of the time that I've been quarantined, I've had poison ivy, and it's healed, and now I have it on my face. So do not adjust your television screen. This is poison ivy, and I should just put a bag over my head. But thank you.
Yeah, that's right. For those of you watching it in black and white, that blob on your screen, that is Angela's poison ivy.
So, yes.
I mean, speaking of the elephant man, you should do that quote.
What? That I am not an animal?
I am not an animal. I am a human being. I can't tell if I'm the elephant man or Sloth from Goonies.
Yeah, right. It could go either way. It could go either way.
So sorry to distract you. Look.
Yeah. You know, we had a lot of ideas we're throwing back and forth for this week's episode. This has been a lot of fun to do so far. It's been great. I don't know about you guys. I am definitely looking forward to getting to a beach or a swimming pool. ASAFP.
For sure.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, we need it to warm up too.
Well, and again, I mean, like we've discussed in the past, I mean, nothing's going to take away from Hilton Head's Beach or being on the West Coast. But thank God we did what we did, and we have the sandbar in the backyard now. And I got to tell you, I cannot wait for us to do our Yacht Rock episode out here and have you and Renee over.
Yeah,
it's
no doubt.
Epic, dude.
It is.
But you told us earlier you're doing a trip coming up soon, right?
Yeah, we're gonna hopefully if everything if they keep the beaches open and the swimming pools open and stuff, we're gonna try to do a little getaway, just a long weekend to Hilton Head in June. I need some sun and some swimming pool action, some cocktails on the beach action. Like I gotta have it, man. I gotta have it.
And you know what? You should drive.
You know, that's what I've heard. I heard Josh is big on long road trips, man. He's amazing, right?
Yes.
I'm a firm believer in taking an Uber there. You know, wherever the chips fall, you know, you just let it kind of happen that way.
Yeah,
no doubt. It'll be great. It'll be a good time.
So when you guys, I know you guys love Hilton Head. I've seen you guys go there quite frequently. Yeah, I've been there for a long time now. We love to go to, obviously, Key West, a big spot for us. Mm-hmm. We've done a couple trips out to Arizona. I personally, and Renee does as well. I can sit by a pool or on the beach for 6-7 hours I mean, and without getting up. I mean, I will sit there. I'll get up to go to the bathroom. If someone's bringing me drinks, I will sit there the whole.
Well, and that's what they make adult diapers for.
Yes, exactly. Yes, right.
No, it's the same. And we've gotten, I mean, we're like professionals at it. We know exactly. I know he likes an umbrella so he could be in the shade, read his books, and you know, we drink all day long.
Read my book. Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, I've read some really great books lately.
Wow. You know, it almost feels like we almost feels like we planned this to talk about
It's
books.
almost like I happen to have Geddy Lee's Big Beautiful Book of Vase here.
Fantastic, man. Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. A buddy of mine, Greg, let me turn me on to this. It's literally an entire book about how Geddy Lee, for those of you who don't know, which you're a communist, he's the bass player for Rush and lead vocalist. He started a collection of basses before, you know, many years into being in the band Rush. He never gave it a second thought. Then someone else turned him on to it, and he thought there was something to it. So now he spent the last 15 years of his life going out and collecting basses from all over the world. Whenever they go out on tour, he'll literally take off with his bass tech and go to little five and dimes and pawn shops and stuff looking for these rare basses. And after all these years, they made a book about it, and it's absolutely amazing.
It's a gorgeous book.
You don't have to be a bass player or a Rush fan to enjoy it. Certainly helps. But just a super cool book. Great coffee table book. So even if you just want to look cool, you should buy it and put it on your coffee table. Then people think you're cultured.
Oh my God, we should put out the Canner's Deli book.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
How about you,
cool.
Doug?
I'll take. Yeah, you know, I'm much like you guys. I always take a book with me when we go on vacation. And Renee, my wife, does as well. And honestly, I'm not just blowing smoke. 99% of the stuff that I read is something to do with rock and roll or the music industry or the entertainment industry. I like reading entertainment books as well. And so I'm always reading them. Always. I always have in somewhere engrossed in a rock book. A couple ones I've finished recently. This was one of my favorites. I hope you guys have read this. If you haven't, you have to. Running with the Devil.
Nice.
This was this was the book about the early years of Van Halen, well, the Roth years of Van Halen.
Yeah.
Written by their manager for their whole career, all the way up till when David Lee Roth left the band.
Okay. I haven't read that. So what's the highlight, man? When you read that book, when you were done, you were like, oh shit, what was that?
I think the biggest thing, and I've talked about this a little bit with Archie, who was on our last episode, and Kevin Young, as well, one of our buddies here locally. The biggest thing was like Michael Anthony just got treated like garbage. I mean, Michael Anthony was always treated like a second-class citizen by the rest of the guys in the band, and management and stuff like that. Like he was just never like. I mean, it's actually kind of shitty. And I love Van Halen, man. I loved them. I mean, I was such a big fan of them in the Roth years.
How crazy is that you read a book based on the years with Roth, and that was your takeaway? And I know that I think all of us have read Sammy's book.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
In Sammy's book,
I actually have a copy of it here, Josh.
Takeaway.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you happen? Oh, let me hand that to you.
I do.
Oh,
I do.
There
this
you
is
go.
One of my favorites as well. Red
Exactly.
by Sammy Hagar. Great book.
So how crazy is it that you have a book that is pre-Hagar, that is all, and your takeaway is that Michael Anthony got treated like shit. When I read Sammy's book, my takeaway was that Michael Anthony got treated like shit. How pathetic is that? And what does that say about the Van Halen brothers?
Yeah, it says a lot. It says a lot.
Have you
read either? Did you read the Sammy book, Ange?
Yeah, it was amazing. I thought it was so good.
It was great.
I mean, dude, at one point, Eddie was trying to tell people that Michael contributed nothing. He played all the bass on the albums and that he sang all the vocals. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, come on. You've never sang like that in your fucking life. It's absurd to take away from someone who was just that consummate. He was the backbone. I mean, you want to talk about a fucking rhythm section between Alex Van Halen and Michael Anthony, and then just to try to rob him of that. Not to mention, I think in Sammy's book, they say he gets down to 7.5% of the royalties. I mean, they just fucking robbed the guy.
No doubt. I know, it's crazy.
The saddest part to me of that book was how he said at the height of Van Hagar popularity that everybody arrived in separate planes. Nobody spoke to each other. They literally would go out on stage, perform, go into separate. And here you think they're this band of brothers, and the whole entire time at their most popular height, they couldn't even stand each other. And to me, that like bothered me. That is, you almost feel like, man, I feel like you guys lived a lie this whole time, because I bought into the whole hook, line, and sinker that they were this amazing band together, and it's sad.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. And I was such a huge fan of Van Halen, and especially in like my high school years, like in the late 80s, up until David Lee Roth left. And I was, I guess mid 80s it would be. And my God, I was like, I read that book and I was like, everything they were talking about, I can recall like those moments in their career. And when all the pictures I read, remember Circus Magazine, Hit Parader,
absolutely,
huge spreads of Van Halen.
We could have an entire episode on the fucking Hit Paraders and Circus Magazines that I have.
No doubt, I know. But all those pictures, they look like they were the four best friends of anybody in the world, and to see that like how alienated that he felt. And really like the definitive separation between the Van Halen brothers and David Lee Roth and Michael Anthony was it was crazy, man. But great book. I recommend to anybody if you're a rock and roll fan at all.
Yeah, big time.
And the Sammy book as well. Sammy book was fantastic. A little shocking some of the stuff he said about Eddie Van Halen in there. I think it's kind of like when us casual fans in this day and age, Eddie Van Halen hasn't really been relevant in touring and stuff for a long time, sadly. But like,
you just want to be careful when you go to Eddie's house. You don't want to use the washcloths that are there in the bathroom.
No. But you read his book and you realize why Eddie's been so non-existent in the last 20 years. Like you read that book, you're like, he's a freaking wreck, man. The guy's a mess. And I love Eddie Van Halen,
Yeah.
Love him.
Hey,
I think sometimes that's the artistry too. I think some people that are those true artists, musicians, whatever. Look at Prince and how recluse he was. You can't. It's different. It's like they're almost built differently. Like they can't be out there like everybody else.
I'm gonna go get a refill. I'll be back in a few. So I'm gonna let Ange talk about, because Ange reads all the time. She was I know on almost every episode we've had, she's talked about some of the books she's read. So I'm gonna let her talk about some of those while I get a refill. I'll be right back.
All right, do it up. Well, I know that one of the books that you and I both read that we talked about one time was Bobby Brown.
Yes.
The book. So, and you told me that you had read.
Well, I loved Bobby Brown's book, but being a chick, I'm always looking at the underlying narrative, because you could tell she was burnt pretty badly by almost everybody she's been with, and she seems a little bit of a train wreck herself. But I mean, do you remember when she was on Star Search and she was like the Star Search model? Like that's before she even, and she's been through the whole gamut of everybody. But yeah, I think she was a little hateful about Tommy and Pam, and she claimed she was still engaged to Tommy when he married Pam. And the biggest takeaway I took from that whole entire book was her talking about Leonardo DiCaprio too.
Oh yeah, me too.
He said he was like bigger than Tommy. No wonder he still is, single. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember that as well. And her talking about all her celebrity stories. I remember also her talking about, the whole thing about her and Tommy Lee being so close. And like she thought that they might get married. And then all of a sudden,
they were engaged. She claims that they were engaged, which I think is bullshit. And she keeps saying that Pam was like Pam would try to like be a knockoff model or whatever. And I'm like, because I love Pam more than anything. And but do you remember she talked about she was with Dave Navarro, and she talked about what a crazy train wreck he was. I mean, she's been with a lot of that, a lot of those celebrity rock stars. And so I thought it was great because it was very intuitive on, to hear what goes on in that lifestyle during that time. But she seems a little kind of kookaloo herself, which, she has a podcast with Charisse Neal now. Yeah. So they have their own podcast that they do. And it seems like they just are kind of like, I don't know, hating on everybody else that burned bridges. But you know, good for them. And same thing with the other book that I forget what that book was called, that Roxy Ray, I think I sent it to you.
Yeah, Roxy Ray. She was
Once Upon a Rock Star.
Rita Ray Rocks. Rita Ray Rocks. Yeah.
Once Upon a Rock Star, and she's a true groupie. Knows she doesn't have any celebrity attachments. She's not a celebrity herself, and she wrote this book. I read that book probably 5 or 6 years ago, and she tells every intimate detail, starting from when she was 14, 15 years old. She claims the first person she ever slept with was Billy Squier when she was 15 at a concert.
Oh my.
I mean, she talks about Stephen Pearcy. She talks about Jakey Lee. She said she turned down Gene Simmons. She claims she slept with David Lee Roth multiple times. She met him at the Troubadour when she was 16. I mean, it is, for people who love that generation of music in the 80s, her book was really good. And she has all the, you know, you can't have proof necessarily, but she has all the Polaroids and things like that to kind of show back in those days. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I have proof. I had a very intimate minute and a half with Billy Squier at Vets Memorial back in
And Kiefer Sutherland once grabbed your hand and said, "Josh, I want to spend some time with you."
I mean, like literally, I told you.
Spend time with you.
I mean, I got semi after that. Who wouldn't? When Jack Bauer says he wants to spend time with you, you get excited.
And Jack Bauer was the only person that was smoking that Josh didn't call a grit.
That's true. I love it. I heard Ange talking about some of the books that she dug. One that I did not like, and I just mentioned it because it was a really, really disappointing. I read Paul Stanley's book.
Okay.
And I think it was Face the Music. And I kept waiting for me to click and kind of get into the book, and it never happened. And after reading it, I realized it was just fake. It was pretentious. It was fake. It was him trying to paint a picture of something that just wasn't accurate. So yeah. I was sorely disappointed in that, because most of the rock books I've read they seem pretty legit for the most part. They seem pretty heartfelt. And unfortunately, like most things with Kiss, you know, just kind of bubblegum and pop and not really real.
Yeah.
Oh my God, people are going to burn down.
So for all you Kiss fans.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a call coming in right now from pretty much everyone we know.
I'm sure Gene Simmons already has a cease and desist on the 12 people that will watch this, and he'll sue us for something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sadly.
I defend all you tree cutters and Kiss fans.
Exactly. Well, sadly, I think that folks like us, now, I mean, believe me, I grew up loving Kiss, and we'll get back to that in a minute.
Absolutely.
I think that a lot of Kiss fans, maybe not the hardcore, like no matter what they do, they can't do any wrong fans, may not feel this way. However, I think a lot of Kiss fans, myself included, feel like anything that they do now, like, you know, Gene coming out with a book, Paul coming out with a book, whatever, it's all just kind of a money grab. Like, sure. What else do they have to talk about?
Like, I mean, seriously,
yeah.
Kiss and Gene Simmons are the ultimate money grabbers. I mean, Gene Simmons is.
And more power to him.
If there is any, I disagree.
No, I mean, more power to them. If people are going to spend the money.
You lose your branding. You can. I'm all about building a brand, but when you take it to the level, then you turn it into a joke, and I feel like that's what they've done. They have Kiss Band-Aids. They have. I mean, it's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I've read a couple of the Kiss books have come out. I love they did have a book come out. It was called Kiss Unmasked, which was more about their early years, like when they got signed, when they played in the clubs, like the early stuff. I'd recommend that book, definitely.
For sure.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's anything that any of them are going to offer right now. And I shouldn't say any of them. I don't think there's anything that Gene or Paul is going to offer right now.
There's only two people in Kiss, man.
Yeah, exactly. So the people are going to latch onto, because I think it's kind of more like it's very shallow. It's going to be a very shallow telling of their side of the story, and it's going to be more of a money grab than anything else.
Yeah. I know another one of Ange and I's favorite books is we happened to be one of our times out in LA. We went to a Cantor's Deli.
Yeah, sweet.
For where GNR would hang out.
Yeah.
And we actually got an autographed copy of the GNR book, Reckless Road.
Awesome.
Mark Cantor was best friends with Slash before they they grew up together before any of this started. So half of people who are Guns N' Roses fans half of the pictures from the albums take place in Cantor's Deli. They have a famous booth there. It has amazing. Mark Cantor kept a diary of his best friend getting famous, and he was like, they didn't have a photographer at the time, so the first time they played the Troubadour, he's the one taking the pictures because he's just like our friends, you know, coming to a show and like,
sure.
This is super cool, and then he watches them explode. And I just thought it's such a cool, I haven't totally finished it, I've kind of skimmed, bounced around, and the pictures are amazing, the book is amazing, plus we love Cantor's Deli because we're ridiculously obsessed with California. So
I always get a when we go, I always get a pastrami to go. When we're heading back to LAX, we always stop at Cantor's. We make the Uber stop at Cantor's, or if we're in the rental car, and I get a pastrami to go. And then around 2, 3 in the morning, when we're flying back to Columbus, I crack that bad boy open. Yeah. I swear to God, dude, there's always a half dozen people that are like, "What is that?" And they're like,
"Yeah, you fog up the plane."
Like,
yeah.
That's a great food, dude. I mean, forget the musical history that's attached to it. Just a phenomenal restaurant in LA.
Well, that's much unlike Renee and I. One time we flew out to Vegas. We were flew out. It was a direct flight flying from out of Columbus to Vegas, and we saw a lady at our gate get on the plane with a Crave case from White Castle. All right, I swear. She had a cardboard Crave case, the one that has like 24 White Castles in it.
Love it.
It looked like a little suitcase, like a little carry-on. And she carried that son of a bitch on the plane. And we're 2 hours into the flight to Vegas, and she popped that thing open, and it smelled like the whole back half of the plane farted, and it blew up to the front half of the plane. It was horrible.
I love White Castles.
I do too. I love them.
But if I'm not eating them and I smell them, it makes me want to fucking vomit.
Two different things.
I would have opened the goddamn door and just fucking jumped out.
But once we learned you could bring food, we
take advantage of that. Yeah.
We've taken Out burger. When we were in Vegas, we went to Guy Fieri's for breakfast the morning that we flew out. We took like French toast and bacon. I forget what you had. You had something really good.
I had chicken and waffles, and it was fucking amazing.
It was so good.
Nice. Yeah,
but
let's say anywho. I don't know how we got it.
Oh, and this is my newest book I just got this week. Look, it's Val Kilmer.
Sweet.
Don't mind my Walmart price tag. But Val Kilmer, I'm Your Huckleberry, just came out this week. A memoir.
Yeah.
And
supposedly supposedly, and once again, I mean, like a lot of people we talk about, Val Kilmer, he's a little out there. I'm not, he's a little crazy. He's gone through some phases. Yeah. That should be a good book.
One of those weirdos who believes like in UFOs, and he believes in flying to Hilton Head.
But no, so I'm interested to read it. I know he's going through a lot of shit. I think he has throat cancer.
Throat cancer, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's not doing very good.
No, we're super pumped to read that. I mean, the guy's iconic. I mean, I fell in love with Val Kilmer with Weird Science. I mean, dude, in the 80s, that was such a great movie. And then, of course, he's in two of my top 5 movies. The Doors.
Doors and Tombstone.
He channeled Jimmy like none other. And I mean, come on, dude. How many people quote Doc Holliday from that Tombstone movie? I mean, come on, I'm Your Huckleberry. And I mean, come on, with all the shit going on now with COVID, you've all seen the T-shirts that pops up on every Instagram and Facebook gag where it says, "Excuse me if I do not shake your hand." I mean,
right.
And more power to him. I mean, like you said earlier about someone. He's not doing anything right now, so more power to him to release a book. Well,
he's going to be in Top Gun too, because I think Tom Cruise is throwing him a bone.
Yeah.
Sure. That's nice. That's great.
That'd be awesome. I'm the only person who still loves Tom Cruise. I don't care what couch dancing. I don't care what voodoo religion he believes in. I love Tom Cruise.
How about you, Doug? Any other books you wanted to talk about?
I'll see. I mean, like I've got literally stacks of Rockstar books. This is seriously, this is going to surprise you guys. This might be my favorite. I know that we love The Dirt. I don't think anyone that's ever read The Dirt is going to say that that's probably their favorite Rockstar book that they've ever read. But Lita Ford's book, I got Lita Ford's book.
Really?
I'll let you guys borrow this.
Yeah, for sure.
And Lita Ford's book was like really, really good. It's short. I mean, it's only, I don't know, maybe 225 pages.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't know much about Lita Ford, honestly, when I read that book. Like, it's not like reading about Sammy Hagar, where like I've been a Sammy Hagar fan since I was 12 years old or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like Lita Ford, I mean, to me is like just one of those people that's always been there, you know, but I never really knew much about her personal life. I just knew, you know, her hits and, you know, whatever. It was fascinating. I mean, her plight with us. She's obviously dated and slept with dozens and dozens of rock stars, and
some of the best.
Had some like serious relationships with a couple of rock star guys that we know and love that were abusive towards her and stuff. It's a damn good read. I mean, it really is. It's one of the most interesting rock star books I've ever read.
Oh my God, sure. I totally want to read it now.
Yeah, I totally want to read that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's got it's got some crazy stuff, and I won't give too much away on here, but it's got some really, really stuff on there where you're like, oh my God, like it changes the way you feel about some of the rock stars that she was with when she tells her side of the story. So
I don't doubt it. I mean, you know, you talked about someone being taken advantage of. I mean, that movie, The Runaways, that came out a couple years ago. I mean, Jesus Christ, if half of that's true, there's some people that should be in fucking prison, dude.
No doubt.
I mean, so I'm sure she touches base on some of that. And when it comes to The Runaways, I think most people know Joan Jett, obviously, over Lita. And even you know, Sherry Curry to an extent, because she was the front person walking around in a fucking nightie every night. So definitely something you have to pass on to us, and something we want to read.
And Lita looks amazing still.
She still does.
She looks. We saw her. Well, we've seen her in concert a couple times in the last few years. She looks fantastic. Like I mean, she looks great. She dresses great. She looks fantastic, and she sounds pretty good.
Yeah, when I met her out at that one of those rock festivals I went to out in LA a few years back, and in spite of myself, I didn't even mean. I think I was just thinking out loud. But you know, all the people were walking out, and you're kind of looking at everybody like, because some of these people I hadn't seen in a long time. You know, the guys from LA Guns and Yngwie and all those people are all coming out, and Lita walks out, and like, in spite of myself, I said out loud, damn, you still look really good. And like, she immediately looks over at me. I'm like, shit, I said that a little bit too loud, but it was true. I mean, she came out, she's wearing like skin tight jeans and a tank top, and she was all done up. And I'm like, that's still the woman that I was in love with when I was 19 years old, right there.
Yes.
I mean,
dude, that one poster she had where she like was doing some fucking like yoga pose down on the ground with her leg out like that. I mean, what, you know, like you said, what 19-year-old guy didn't look at that poster and go, yeah, I love me some Lita Ford. Yeah,
she was. I mean, in the hairband era, she was one of very, very few ladies that was you know, involved with that whole thing. There wasn't many of them, and she was really kind of like the face of it. And she's still hot. I mean, she really is. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and you know, and you just mentioned the dirt, and you know, I think that goes without saying that we could have an entire episode about the dirt.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows the three of us and knows, you know, especially some of the stuff that Ange and I have been fortunate enough to be able to do, you know, involving Motley Crue. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. It is the Bible of rock and roll biographies. There's nothing that compares to it. I mean,
I remember when that came out. I read it in 48 hours.
I mean, they just, you know, this isn't one of those feel-good stories. They're all very fucking blunt and honest, and that's the best part about it is you have four guys telling their version of a story, and they're all four different versions. And you know, just, you know, to sit there and read that, and then for it to become a movie and such, and
you don't even have to be a fan, even if you're not a Motley fan.
I agree.
Reading that book literally is so gripping, and it tells the tales of that time. It tells the egos of that time. It's fantastic. It's
I mean, it gives you an idea of what it's like to have one girl call another girl's mother on the telephone, but we're not going to go there.
Well, I think a lot of these books, I mean, you know, that I've read, I've told other people about them that may not be a fan of Van Halen or might not be a fan of Motley Crue or whoever, or Guns N' Roses for that matter, because I've read all those guys' books. I'm like, you don't have to be a fan to appreciate this story. I mean, this is an incredible story. Like some of these people, you know, like you were just talking about Mark Cantor and Cantor's Deli. And I read Slash's book. I mean, Slash's book is excellent. I mean, it's great. It's a great read. Now, I read, I told Angela that I read Rob Lowe's book. You know, you don't have to be a fan of Rob Lowe to appreciate that story, because it's like, it's an amazing story. And like the people that he came in contact with and all the little nuances of like that world when he was going through becoming a celebrity and what he went through when he became a celebrity, they're fascinating stories. They really are.
Absolutely fascinating. And it kind of makes you a fan in different, I become more of a fan where when I read the Sammy Hagar book, I did not like Sammy after I read the book. I thought he came off as a total dick and an egotistical. But that's from a female point of view. I felt like he came off pretty arrogant and shitty, and I didn't like it. So, but I'm a David Lee girl, so.
I enjoyed it because Sammy and I share a birthday, and I'm completely biased. Yeah, completely biased, and I completely freely admit it. I love David Lee Roth, Van Halen, but you cannot fucking argue how good 5150 was. When that album came out, it was absolutely fucking amazing. What Van Hagar put out was epic. So yeah, I'm a huge Sammy guy, always have been. I love everything he's done with the Circle. And I just love him as a person. Like I said, I follow him on Instagram. He just seems like, you know, one of those people that three of us would love to hang out with, because he's a genuine dude.
And he looks amazing. He's 72 years old. He looks freaking tastic.
Yeah. His hair almost looks like this.
He doesn't look.
Almost.
He doesn't look like a slopopotamus like my man Vince.
Your man Vince. Well, you know, it's funny that you know, when 5150 came out, I was such a huge fan of the Roth era, and the 5150 album was, I mean, let's say this is one of those things that we could talk about for an hour, but I just want to throw this out there that it took me several years to appreciate 5150.
Really?
I love it now, but when I first heard it, it was so different from the Van Halen that I had loved for the last years, for 7-8 years before that.
Yeah.
That when it first came out, I was like, what the hell is this? Although I like Sammy Hagar. I was already a fan of Sammy Hagar. And then when OU812 came out, I was immediately on board. I thought those were great songs. Like I immediately was grabbed by those songs, Black and Blue and Finish What You Started, when those were coming out as singles. And then I revisited 5150, and then all of a sudden I love 5150, and I appreciate it for the band that it was, not trying to compare it to David Lee Roth band.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it for what it actually was by itself.
Yeah. And I think that I was one of the few people who looked at it that way. Mm-hmm. When 5150 came out, I never even thought to compare it to David Lee Roth, because there is no comparison in my opinion.
I agree.
But to listen to 5150 with Sammy Hagar, I think it is fucking epic. I mean, Summer Nights, come on, dude.
Summer Nights is the best. You remember
Best of Both Worlds.
Summer Nights is one of those songs that I gravitated to immediately, and it's still relevant to this day. I mean, that's the kind of song that you would see fucking Kid Rock or Kenny Chesney cover during a summer tour in a stadium. I mean, it's
no doubt.
5150 did 5150 did so much for me, and it has nothing to do. I don't dislike David Lee. I don't dislike old Van Halen. I just 5150 is really fucking good.
Yeah, it is a great album. And honestly, when it comes down to it, it's still Eddie playing the guitar, and he is of our generation. I mean, arguably, in my book there is no argument, but for most of our fans of that era of music, Eddie Van Halen is the king. I mean, if you don't believe that he is, and he's in anybody's top 3, I think he's the best guitar player of that era.
I think me personally, I don't want to get into this whole conversation. I think he's a strong number 2 to Matt Bradley. Matt Bradley.
All right,
he's a little. I agree. That's right.
I didn't want to throw names out there, Josh.
I mean, a little lesser known than Eddie, but Eddie's a strong number 2. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No.
All right. So that's a great segue, Josh, talking about 5150 and stuff. So, when we were all growing up, I mean, albums were, it mattered. An album mattered. Albums don't really matter nowadays.
They don't.
I know.
It's sad.
Yeah,
they really don't.
Almost.
But when we got stuff,
I feel sad for people about nowadays.
Yeah, me too. And when we all listened to albums front to back, we bought them, we put them in our cassette player in our car, or put them on our turntable, or whatever, and we listened to them front to back. And I know that Ange, you've been playing along on this thing the last week or so on Facebook. People are like posting us, what are the 10 albums that were most influential to you, no matter what it may be. I mean, a lot of people that post them are not musicians, but they're like, what albums influence the way that you feel about music or whatever.
I try to pick stuff that's not as, because everybody at the end of the day, a lot of us are going to have the exact same song, so I try to, or exact same album, so I try to pick things that are a little more meaningful or a little bit more obscure, not obscure, but you know what I mean, like just not the same old same.
Well, and I went into it the same mindset. It wasn't I didn't pick 3 albums that influenced me as a musician. I picked 3 albums that influenced me in my life.
Yeah.
So
same here.
I think that we should go around and we should do 3, and then we should do 2, and then we should all do our number ones.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to put them in order. But I didn't have any problem like picking like my top 3 or 4.
Yeah. I did mine chronologically, actually.
Okay, cool. All right. What do you got?
You want to start, Ange?
You have had that string hanging this whole time. It's making me crazy.
What's crazy is that earlier I felt the string touch me, and I'm like, what the fuck is in my house?
I was surprised you didn't swat Ange's hand away. Like, will you stop it? Will you get your hand out of my
I've been holding her fucking arm under the table for half of this fucking show.
I'm like, I feel like I'm
She's like,
I feel like I'm a whatever somebody would be that's getting their arms out.
All right, Ange, you want to start us off?
I will start off with the Eagles' Greatest Hits.
Eagles' Greatest Hits. I love that album. Yeah.
And I am a huge fan of the Eagles. We've seen them
several times,
probably 5 or 6 times. That is, not everybody loves the Eagles. It's one of those iconic, to me, every time you hear it, it takes you to a simpler time. I feel like in life, it has a little bit of that Southern, like West Coast vibe, a little bit like the Arizonas and the, Western type. It's got a kind of country feel to it, but I absolutely love the harmonizing, their voices. I love every single song. What's so funny?
You said Southern West Coast.
So the Southern West Coast.
Tijuana.
Fuck off, asshole.
So you like albums that reflect people that pee by train tracks is basically what you're saying.
Yes. I love it. I love Joe Walsh. My stepdad was a huge Joe Walsh fan and made me become a huge Joe Walsh fan, and I'm a huge Eagles fan. When Don Henley passed away, I was
Don Henley died?
Shit! Glenn Frey.
When is this coming out? When is this album?
Breaking news!
Yeah, when is this coming out? Yeah,
we should be watching Rock Autobiographies. Don Henley died.
Spoiler alert!
That's as bad as one of the girls at work. We were talking about Huey Lewis, and I said Huey Lewis went blind.
The Huey Lewis went blind. All right. Yeah, that's news. That's national news. You're hearing it.
And this is when the viewers drop.
That's right. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for joining us.
I'm gonna have to say a prayer tonight that nothing happens to Don Henley, because now I feel like I have brought it to some kind of thing.
Yeah, you heard it first, people. Yeah.
When Glenn Frey passed away.
All right. Yeah.
In that kitchen. Right
Glenn
there,
Frey passed away.
Yes, Glenn Frey was absolutely amazing.
And she was like, I'll never hear Tequila Sunrise the same way again.
We better edit this part out.
Right. Well, I will say this, and to your point, so a lot of people may not be aware of this, but that the Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1 is the best-selling album of all time.
Yeah,
not Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yeah.
Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1.
There's a reason that it is.
It's amazing.
It is what I clean the house to. It is what I listen to. It's like a soothing. It's fantastic. And people do not sing like that. People do not perform like that. People do not harmonize like that. If you watch a History of the Eagles on Netflix or whatever,
amazing.
It's like a 3-hour special. It is fantastic. And people do not make music like that anymore. Everything's synthesized, and there's all that other bullshit. That's true musicianship. They're fucking fantastic.
I can't wait to hear your
number 1.
Yeah, right.
I can't wait to hear your number 2.
I want to hear who else is going to be dying in the coming year.
Right?
Yeah. This is great.
Jesus.
This is great. You're like
did you guys hear Huey Lewis is blind?
Huey Lewis is losing his sight. I mean, I guess 2020 couldn't get any worse.
I'm going in chronological order. The 3 albums I chose based on life.
This is what happens when I.
And the first one is Styx, The Grand Illusion.
Okay.
1977. Obviously, the song that everyone knows from that album is "Come Sail Away."
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that was about growing up. I can remember when that came out, being 5 years old, sitting in front of the hi-fi with my parents and just putting that album on and then cranking that fucker up to 10 and just blaring it throughout the whole house. And listening to that album gave me an appreciation for rock music. Love or hate Styx, whether you do or don't. Back then, there wasn't anyone else who was doing it the way they were. They were the first band in history to have 3 albums in a row that went 3 times platinum. That's a huge deal when you think about Elvis and some of those other bands in the early 70s and such, and it was Styx who did that. So the grand Tommy Shaw is not dead.
That's right.
So my the first one I'm going to talk about, like I said, is Styx, The Grand Illusion. From age 5 and to this day, she can't fucking get a hold of herself.
Yeah, right. She's trying to figure out. It's like she's trying to remember if everybody else on that album is alive or not.
I mean, seriously, it's fucking insane. But to this day, we're huge Styx fans. We've seen them in Dallas, Texas. We're huge Styx fans.
Saw them in Vegas.
And
I actually saw them in Dallas as well, Josh.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, I did. I saw them in Dallas at the State Fairgrounds. Yeah.
Nice. Well, and the first time I ever saw them, I was so fortunate. I saw them in '96 when Dennis DeYoung, the founder of Styx, got back together with the band, and they played at Polaris Amphitheater, which we've talked about in the past as well.
Yeah, awesome.
So that was actually the first time I ever saw Styx. And it was, it brought tears to my eyes to see them in '96 after remembering all those memories from a kid in '77 when that album came out. So very important to me. That's my number 3. How about you, Doug?
I will go back. So I actually have a couple of mine with me here. 1977.
Same year.
The album that made me start loving rock and roll. No question. Okay. If I had to be honest with myself and look back, Kiss Alive 1.
Yeah.
Kiss Alive 1.
Nice.
I mean, I didn't even know what the hell, what I was listening to when it came out.
You just knew it sounded good.
Yeah, I think it was probably 1978 when I heard this for the first time and listen to my record player at home. And I'm not going to, dwell on, Kiss and what that did for my life. But I am positive that album, when I got that album, and then strangely enough, and I swear this is a true story, I didn't buy that album. I actually traded Star Wars people for it to one of my buddies.
Oh my God!
Yeah. One of my neighbors in my apartment complex, his name was Jimmy Ellis, he had Kiss Alive 1 on album, and I gave him Star Wars people, and we traded for it. And I brought it home and played it.
Did you give him a Chewbacca?
No, I gave him a couple of Yodas for it.
Because I ran into Jimmy years later, and he gave me a Yoda.
He still talks about it, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm thinking it probably would have been 78, I guess. I don't remember the exact year, but I'm thinking it was probably 78. And definitely before 1980 when I got a hold of that. And but I remember listening to it, and I didn't even really know what I was listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put it on. I had a Kiss poster on my wall that someone in my family got me for Christmas because they had the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park on television. Yeah, and everybody at school was always talking about Kiss, and I had Kiss cards and all that.
Yeah.
But I got that album, and I played it over and over again, and I loved the sirens at the end of Hotter Than Hell going into Firehouse,
Yeah, Firehouse, yeah.
And, and I just listened to it over and over again. It is what it is. That album, Kiss Live 1, made me a rock and roll fan. It's as simple as that.
Hey, epic on that. So something I thought about that we can talk about later, but we're going to have to do an episode where we talk about and we show pictures from our past.
Oh God,
I
yeah.
have some. You just made me think of something. We'll talk about it off air.
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, Ange, how about you? Number 2, buddy.
Number 2. What were my other 2 that I said?
I don't know.
Oh, number 2 would be Too Fast for Love.
Too Fast for Love. Great one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's my picture? I wanted to see my album cover.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up. Yeah.
Too Fast for Love. I don't know. It is probably has the best songs that make me have the best feel good. It's the most gritty to me of Motley albums. It's not Shout of the Devil, it's not Theater of Pain, but it is I don't know. It's my favorite Motley album. I still listen to it.
Definitely not Theater of Pain.
No, fuck no, dude.
But it's definitely
Thank God.
to that probably, I mean, once a month at least. Still.
Yeah. Great. It's timeless. It's timeless.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's super good. It really is. Anything else to add for that one, buddy?
Well, I'm a diehard Motley fan, so.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
I didn't know that.
So.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So my number 2.
I didn't get to trade any cool, like.
She traded Cabbage Patch Dolls for that.
Yeah, right. What did you trade for it? Yeah, I gave a strawberry shortcake doll for it.
I traded for that.
That's the only trading story I have.
Yeah. So again, I'm going in chronological order, and the next album that jumped out to me that truly impacted my life was Prince, Purple Rain. This was 86, I think 85, 86. And it was the first album that I became so obsessed with that I remember my buddies and I rode our bikes up to Roush Hardware in Westerville.
Yeah.
And I bought 2 blue light bulbs and 2 red light bulbs, went back to my house, and I grabbed all the lamps I could from other rooms, put them in my bedroom, and I put the red and blue in my bedroom so my room was purple.
Oh, yeah?
And I would play this fucking album, and we were doing videos like at the same time MTV was being popular. We were making fucking videos to every single song on the Purple Rain album. And I was obsessed. I mean, I'd be pouring fucking sweat, dancing my skinny white ass off to the entire album front to back. It just impacted me. And again, I chose this album because it made me feel. Just like The Grand Illusion made me feel, Purple Rain made me feel. And one of my proudest moments, there's certain things that happen in your life you don't forget. I'll never forget being at my buddy's house, and he told his mom, hey, Josh knows every single word to Purple Rain, the album. And his mom was like so impressed with me, and I was fucking 12, dude. And but because she was impressed, it made me feel good. So Prince's Purple Rain absolutely was one of those influential albums in my life that catapulted me, again, further into appreciation of music and appreciation of, well, let's say cinematography. So we'll do a little sub story on this. So when I'm 12 or 13 and Purple Rain, the movie comes out, I talked my mom into taking me and my brother and my sister to the Gold Circle Mall, as it was called, back in Westerville.
Up in Westerville, yeah. I bought an album there myself that I'm going to talk about.
Exactly. And my mom's like, well, Joshua, it's rated R. And I go, well, Mom, that's just because they say some bad words. So here we are, opening weekend of Purple Rain, sold out theater, and it's my mom, my 10-year-old brother, and my 8-year-old sister. And they get to the point where Apollonia is taking her top off to jump into the purifying waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Of course, yeah.
My mom is screaming at us to cover our eyes in this fucking sold out theater. So then we have to cover our eyes. And of course I'm 12. So I've got a semi and I'm trying to peek out between. And she's like, Joshua, cover your eyes. And then when they get to the scene where they're in the barn, she literally makes us get up and walk out of the fucking movie, dude.
No way.
I didn't end up seeing Purple Rain for years after that. So yeah, Prince's Purple Rain, big impact on this guy right here.
All right, your first semi-Woody and your first time you were asked to leave a theater.
Exactly.
Not the last of either one. Not the last of either.
But it is.
for the
Purple Rain
first
is
time.
still iconic to this day. Apollonia, I mean, literally 12-year-old girls literally in their bedroom pretending they're Apollonia, dancing around in their lingerie singing Sex Cheater. Like, oh, I mean, it was fantastic. It's iconic to this day. It's 2020 for shit's sake.
Yeah.
And it's still incredible.
It is, and it should be. Number two, I don't have a copy of it with me, but because I don't have it on vinyl. I was in 8th grade when Van Halen's 1984 came out.
Nice.
And I knew who Van Halen was, but when I got, that was, I was getting to the point where I had enough money where I could buy albums with my own money. I didn't have to always, you know, I mean, I was 14 at the time. Actually, when that album came out, I was 13. And but I had money from mowing grass and things like that, so I could buy things with my own money. I bought Shout Out the Devil.
Grass or selling grass?
That came way later.
That was not north.
But you know, I bought, you know, Rat Out of the Cellar with my own money. I bought Shout Out the Devil with my own money.
Yes.
And I bought Van Halen's 1984 on cassette with my own money. Man. Yeah. And that was the first Van Halen album that I owned. I'd heard all the other ones. My friends had them. Most of the ones I'd heard were from friends of mine who had older brothers, you know, or older sisters that played Van Halen. You know, I knew who Van Halen was, obviously, but I didn't know Van Halen because I was only 13 years old. But I bought 1984 with my own money on cassette, and I went from being a rock and roll fan because of Kiss. And, you know, and before that, you know, when like Quiet Riot came out and obviously Motley Crue and Rat and stuff like that. But when 1984 came out, that was when I was like, I want to be a rock star because David Lee Roth was larger than life.
Yeah,
David Lee Roth was larger than freaking life. And that was when I really realized how amazing David Lee Roth was at the age of 13 when I got Van Halen's 1984. So that would be number 2 for me.
Hey, do you know what David Lee Roth was doing when he was 12?
He was probably doing a lot more exciting things than we were. He wasn't getting thrown out of a movie theater for seeing Apollonia's boobs.
Exactly. David Lee Roth was losing his virginity at age 12.
And Hawaii, right? He lost it in Hawaii, right? Yeah. Or in some island. I can't remember.
I mean, seriously.
I remember reading the story. Yeah.
Hey, so we're getting to that point again where I'm out of margarita and Ange is up for her number. Are you on number 2 or number 1?
Number 1.
Number 1. Ange is going to talk about her number 1, and I'm going to refill.
All right, do it up. What do you got, Ange?
It should be the number 1 for everybody. Is GNR Appetite for Destruction.
Damn right.
It is the best album of all time. I mean, everyone can argue and feel however they want to feel. I don't care. It is the best album. Every single song I love. And just like what we were saying, when we were kids, you listened to every single song, flipped it over, listened to every single song on the B-side.
Yeah.
I love every single song on that album. And then when we saw them, we've seen them a couple times on this last tour when they came through. And it's unreal. We went to Vegas. We saw their very first show when they got back together in Vegas. Absolutely. And that's when Axl was in Dave Grohl's wheelchair for his ankle. And then we saw them in Cincinnati, and that's when Steven Adler came out and played drums. And I about had a coronary because we had pit tickets for that one. And it was absolutely, and I will tell anybody, they're on, I mean, who knows with the whole coronavirus and whatever, but I know that they have extended their tour again to come back around to the United States. If anybody has a chance to get to see them, you will absolutely not be disappointed. It takes you straight back to being a kid in 1989. Every single song sounds exactly like it did when we were young. It's epic. It's fantastic. I mean, I love it. My favorite song.
It was a game changer. That album was a total game changer. I couldn't agree with you more.
It completely is. I mean, and I grew up, my parents were divorced, and my dad, like when I spent the weekends with my dad, you know, he'd always like, he'd let you buy a new cassette, and then he'd pop it in, and I'd be nervous, like, oh, I hope I'm not going to cuss or do whatever. But he was like super cool with it. And I mean, he'd let me listen to Guns N' Roses, and it was absolutely, I mean, it was life changing. I still love them just as much today as I did back then. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's the best album ever.
I tell you what, you know, and if someone said, what is the best rock and roll album of your generation? Now, our generation was not Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath,
No.
you know, and Rolling Stones and
No.
Queen. That was a little before. That was before us, you know.
Yes.
Without hesitation, if someone, what was the best rock and roll album of your generation? Without hesitation, I would say Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Yes.
It is a solid rock and roll album. That if someone came,
was a game changer.
If someone came to the United States and I met them and they were like, and they wanted me to describe what kind of music was what kind of music I listened to in the late '80s or when I was a kid. And it was, I could only do it with one album. That's the album that I would hand them. That was a game changer album. 100%.
100%. It's absolutely fantastic. And I know all the drama with Axl Rose and blah, blah, blah. They started right at 8:30, right on time. I mean, that was 20-some years ago when you would show up hours late. But the concert was so fabulous. When we saw them in Cincinnati, we're down in the pit. And there was a young girl who's, and it's typical me. We're huge concert goers. And I am just losing my mind. And the girl comes over to me and she's like, oh my God, like watching you during this whole concert has been the greatest thing I've ever seen. She's like, oh my God, you are having the time of your life. I'm like, it is. I mean, it's fantastic. And, we've talked about it before. I love the dynamic of bands. And literally Slash, Duff, Axl, the way they interacted with each other, you could tell they were having the time of their lives and nothing. And then Steven came out. I literally lost my mind when Steven Adler came out on drums. And to see that, I share that same joy that they have. And I love that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is. It's great whenever you see any of the bands from our era reunite, especially when they do it on stage. I don't care who it is. It doesn't have to be a Guns N' Roses or a Motley Crue. It can be at any level because, all those guys have kind of gone and done their own thing and separated for whatever reasons or arguments or life, whatever. Same thing, even when, I'll use Faster Pussycat for example. I saw Faster Pussycat reunite on stage in LA. The first time that the members had all been on the same stage together in 20 years, 5 years ago. And it was amazing. It was amazing because you could tell like there's something that those guys shared. You talk about Guns N' Roses. So what Slash and Duff and Axl and Steven and Izzy, what those guys shared, that will never happen again. It won't happen again. What those guys shared in those moments when they were as big as they got, they will never have that again, ever.
And not only that, but to see them doing this reunion tour, unlike a lot of bands that we have seen, you could tell that the appreciation that they appreciated that they could never, that this is something special. This isn't just a paycheck. We're not just here to collect whatever. You could tell they were like, this is Slash's face, literally he's walking around. I have 50 million videos of it. And he is just smiling and he and Duff are like laughing and giggling to each other. I mean, you could tell they were like, they appreciated it and nothing could, I'm not kidding. We've gone to hundreds upon hundreds of concerts and that Guns N' Roses show in Cincinnati is in my top 5.
Nice.
It was absolutely amazing. GNR is one of those bands that just has the fortitude that a lot of these other bands that are getting back together don't. No one's going to argue that, Motley's not my favorite band of all time, but I'm also honest enough to say that seeing Motley live today is completely different from seeing GNR live today. Again, just GNR has that fortitude of that Axl and Duff and Slash. Not that you want to take anything away from Steven Adler or Izzy Stradlin, but those are the three. And to watch them do what they do, absolutely amazing. So kudos to Ange for talking about Appetite. It's not one of my most influential albums, but I will say that you'd be hard pressed to give me another debut album that was better. I don't know of another debut album that could have been better.
Debut.
I'm just being honest. Tell me another band whose first album came out and had the impact and was as good as Appetite for Destruction was.
Well, maybe, saying you don't even have to say whether or not I'm sure a lot of people would argue that there were other debut albums that were better, but that debut album, I think, changed music more than any other debut album did from at least for that 30-year span. I mean, maybe I guess Nirvana coming out.
Doug, it was fucking wild.
It was fucking bananas.
It was the Bananas debut album. It was no Don Henley funeral.
All right, moving on. All right, Josh, please enthrall us with your next pick.
All right, so my number one is, and it has nothing to do with being my favorite album by any means by this band, but the Girls, Girls, Girls album by Motley Crue, again, impacted me because that was my first concert. I was 15 years old, and I went to Legend Valley, and I got to see Whitesnake and Motley Crue on the Girls Tour. And again, I loved Motley before that, and to this day, Girls is nowhere near my, top 5 list. Ask Archie about that. That's a whole other conversation. But because it was my first concert at 15 to be surrounded by 35,000 fucking people, and Legend Valley back then, there's fucking every drug on the planet going around. There's fucking blowjobs. There's fucking everything going on.
Topless women, bikers, everything.
In front of everybody.
Everything.
So that album had that impact on me because that was to watch the to Nikki and Tommy to do the bass and drum solo and to take the fucking jack and fucking down at Nikki, fucking down at Tommy. Those things stuck with me to the point that a year later, I was emulating that with a fucking pint of Jack Daniels at my best friend's house.
Yikes.
And fucking throwing up everywhere. But again, I kept that bottle. I have that pint down in my basement in a box of memorabilia from when I was a kid.
The first Jack Daniels pint that you chugged?
Yes, I fucking have it still. I should have fucking brought it up for the episode. But that had that impact on me. So Girls, Girls, Girls is not it's not my favorite Motley album. But again, when I talk about the most influential albums in my life, The Grand Illusion from Styx had that huge impact on me. Princess Purple Rain had that huge impact on me. Later in life, Motley Crue, Girls, 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 seeing them on that tour, that's what made me pick up a bass. That's what made me go to the guitar store and buy my first bass and my first amp because I'm like, I want to be Nikki Sixx. I didn't know about the fucking heroin at the time. I didn't know what heroin even was, but I knew that I wanted to be.
I feel like that wasn't even
exactly. It wasn't even.
Yeah, our era was more cocaine. I think cocaine was the big '80s drug. Of rock stars.
So that's my number one, man. In chronological order, those are my 3 most influential albums. How about you, brother?
Well, I'll do my last one. I think, Josh. I mean, seriously, we could have. You and I are very similar in a lot of respects of why we chose what we chose. The first real rock concert that I went to was in high school. It was Aerosmith and Dokken. And then it snowballed after that. And then I was like, then I went to everything that I possibly could go to. And I saw tons and tons of bands in the years that I was in high school. We've talked about a bunch of them already. Yes, that looks delicious.
If you can't tell, we have had a lot to drink.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm glad I'm still sitting up, actually. But I will say this though: the band that hit me on a different level was, all the bands I saw up till this point. The next band I'm gonna say from my last album, they always put on a good show. It was fun. The songs sounded good, but I will never forget the first time I saw this band, because it was the first time that I didn't feel like I was at a concert. I felt like I was at a fucking party. I felt like I was at a party, and I felt like everybody in that place was at a party with this band, and everybody wanted to be hanging out and partying and drinking with this band. Yeah. And that band was Warrant. The first time that I saw Warrant.
Hell yeah, dude.
Dirty Rotten, Filthy Stinking Rich.
Yeah.
I remember, I loved David Lee Roth. Like I said, David Lee Roth, Steven Tyler, those guys were larger than life. They were larger than life, and they felt to us when we were teenagers, they were untouchable. They were literally larger than we were. But when I saw Warrant for the first time when I was 18 years old, I felt like I could walk out of there and go to a party with those guys and hang with them all night and party. And they were my friends, you know?
Yeah, hell
they
yeah.
were like, these guys are me, man. These guys
Yeah.
are just like me. And when I saw Warrant for the first time at the Newport, it was when they opened for Paul Stanley, when Paul Stanley did a solo tour.
Wow.
And then I saw them literally probably 6 times in the next like 10 months because they opened for everybody. They opened for Poison. They opened for Tesla. They toured.
Motley.
Then they toured on their own and played the Newport. And I saw them up in Cleveland, the Agora and whatever. And they were their shows. It was like going to a party. I mean, for that period of my life, I was 18, 19 years old. And all I wanted to do every day was go to a party. And when I went to a Warrant concert, it was like going to a party with a bunch of guys that I loved and respected. And I loved that album, and I loved everything that they stood for when they came out. They were so much fun to see in concert back then. So that was a huge influence.
Janie Lane is the most underrated frontman, I think, of the 80s ever, because I absolutely agree with you in everything that you said, because it was we saw Warrant so many times. It's insane, because every time you felt like it was like somebody you knew up on the stage. Like
you felt like they was your friends.
It wasn't I'm a superstar. It was literally, he was completely relatable. He was, eye contact, jump in the crowd, hang out and talk to you. He made you feel like he was just somebody you knew down the street who's up there. It was fantastic. That, besides Glenn Fry, Janie Lane was my
besides
other
the death of besides the death of Don Henley. This was a defining moment.
I was so sad when he passed away. I could not even believe it, because I felt like it was this was like one of our friends. I felt like he was somebody that was close to us, and when he passed away, I couldn't even believe it.
I agree. And actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see on there, but the back, this is on vinyl. It's all the members signed it. You can kind of see it over in here. But I mean, the first handful of times that I saw them, it was always at smaller places. I saw them at the Agora in Cleveland, a couple times at the Newport, and so forth. And they were so like, I mean, Janie Lane, it was like he was like your buddy. It was like you walked up to him and he was just, he'd hug you. He was happy to see you. He was they were just such great guys. And that took it from, in my earlier years, being like rock stars were on this pedestal and like they were untouchable figures, to we're like, oh my God, these guys are like, these are the guys that I want to party with, and Warrant was the band that did that for me. So
we saw them so many times at Alrosa.
No doubt.
It felt like no different than how it is now, where we go to bar to support our friends, to support each other, whatever. That's how it felt going to those shows. You felt like it was a homecoming, like coming home. We're at the Alrosa, you're seeing your favorite people. It's fantastic. And that's why it was so sad to me. I mean, because it felt like that was an end of an era that's never going to repeat itself.
Well, and for years, because Janie's from Akron, he would always play at the Alrosa the night before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was either Janie or it was Brett Michaels. And those were just, every year you could count on that. And again, you talk about someone who just seems so genuine and someone you connect with. That was Janie Lane.
Yep.
I mean, they were just the energy. I mean, I remember seeing them on the tail end of their first album. They opened up for Motley on the Feel Good tour. And I remember them talking. I remember Janie, they said, hey, this is the title track to our new album. And they played Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah, right.
So at the time, Uncle Tom's Cabin was going to be their album title and their first single release before the record execs got in front of them and said, hey, make a song like Love in an Elevator. And they came up with Cherry Pie. But up until that point in Warrant's career, they were just in it for the fans. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So kudos to you, Doug. That's an excellent number one, man. Very cool, man. Very cool.
It was a big one for me. In that point, in 1988, I was 18 years old. And to me, it was like Warrant were like, they were the ultimate guys that I wanted to party with, For sure. For sure. Well, guys, it's getting ready to be time to wrap this up. Let's throw out some local shout outs. Who do you guys want to send a shout out to this week?
Hands, go right ahead.
My local shout out this week, you assholes, is to my favorite, and it's been my favorite for almost 12 years now. My favorite barbecue place. It's not necessarily in Columbus, but it's in Johnstown. It's called Route 62 Barbecue.
Sure, yeah. I've been there many times. Yeah.
Their pulled pork is the greatest that you've ever had. No fatty, no greasy. You could almost eat it without sauce. Absolutely amazing. We just went there Friday. We had carry out. They just reopened May 1st for carry out. Absolutely, hands down, fantastic, greatest barbecue.
Great. I love that place. And actually, your drummer Neil has been to a big camping trip that I've done for many years with a bunch of guys called the Freeze Out. And Route 62, we got the food from Route 62 to feed like 40 guys 3 or 4 years in a row. Yeah, they do excellent food out there.
It's so good, so good.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, so to tie into Angie, it's so funny. Coincidentally, I was going to say the same thing. Believe it or not.
You should say mi tradición.
We all should. We all should say mi tradición.
So in the last week, because it is Cinco de Mayo, we will say mi tradición, best Mexican in Columbus.
Yay!
Arriba! Andale! You cannot go wrong with a 32-ounce margarita from mi tradición.
No, well, you can go wrong with them actually, but you know.
I know. Look at us. We are disastrous. I'm embarrassed over my Don Henley.
But my local shout out was Route 62 as well. Ange and I started eating there about 6 months after they opened. I'm a big Yelp guy, and for about 4 or 5 years, I was the Duke of Route 62. I was the top profiler for Route 62. We had it. We catered it for Angie's birthday one year.
7 years ago. God.
We've had barbecue in Texas, Oklahoma, the Carolinas.
We're like, boo!
Fancy
Even
Fancy Gap.
Fancy Gap. Yeah, it won't be Fancy Gap. But
I'm telling you, nothing is better than Route 62 barbecue. If you're a barbecue fan and you go there and you don't like it, you genuinely don't like it, you're not just being a douche, I'll buy your next fucking meal.
Oh,
wow. You heard it here first, people. You heard it here.
Because because I'm telling you, it's impossible. Unless you're just some little whiner who wants to go, oh, I didn't like it, give me free food.
That's Facebook now.
It's absolutely incredible. And again, we've had, I mean, when you think of barbecue, you think of down south and you think of the Carolinas. And we've had barbecue in all those places, and nothing touches Route 62 barbecue.
I've ordered the same thing for 12 years. Yeah. I've never had anything different. I get a pulled pork sandwich, broccoli salad, cheesy potatoes, and then it comes with coleslaw.
All right. So for people that have been paying attention since our first episode, you pretty much know what Angie gets at like 6 different places. She's like, I get a super burrito with extra sour cream and a 32-ounce margarita. I get my
exactly what I do. I
a creature of habit.
What I want to get.
That's my girl, man. She knows what she likes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Eventually, they're gonna. One of these places is gonna be like, just call it the Angela Special. Like yours, rolling. Give me the Angela Special.
Creekside Cafe. That's how they were. When I walk in, she's like, "Did you want a ham and cheese omelet with sliced potatoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I want." Thank you.
How about you, Doug? Who you shouting out to this week, brother?
Well, us and you guys have met some of our neighbors we hang out with. We ride our bikes up into the city of Powell when the weather's nice, and there's it's been pretty awesome over the last couple of years. A couple of new breweries have opened up there. I'm gonna send a shout out to both of them right now. Ill Mannered Brewing Company is one that's up there. It started out as just a really, really small tap room up there, and then 2 years ago they moved into a bigger facility, a freestanding building with a nice patio. Okay. It's pet friendly. They have outdoor TVs and a fire pit. Great place. We go there all the time. And then also Nocterra Brewing Company is up there as well, right next to the railroad tracks. They've got a huge outdoor area with fire pits. It's also pet friendly. Both those places always have a food truck every night. We can, get some grub for your beer. So we're very happy that those places are there, but we also realize that they're both privately owned by small, these are independently owned breweries, and that, awesome. People, they had a dream to open a brewery. Yeah. And right now they're struggling. They're both continuing to offer carry out beer for pickup or whatever. And they're still doing okay, but we're excited for them to get reopened to their full capacity when all it's over, so we can go up there and see them, because both those places are ran by really nice people. And there's a group of us that go up there all the time, and we miss them, So I hope that they're doing well. And we've gotten their beer a couple times. And when you order for delivery, it's literally one of their employees just shows up at your door like an hour later with the beer. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Very cool.
But, so shout out to
we actually finished up one of our nights out at Nocterra, and love the atmosphere.
Yeah, very
Is that
cool.
across from Huli Huli?
Yeah, across from Huli Huli.
Right around, right, just down from Huli Huli. Yep.
So we're obviously a huge beach people and tiki people, so we love Huli Huli. And a good friend of ours, Dr. Lava, is a DJ who specializes.
The Dr. Lava.
Yeah, who specializes in tiki music and Hawaiian music and that whole vibe. But at the end of the day, my whole point in bringing it up was that we ended up over at Noctura, and that's where we spent the last hour of our night, and just love the atmosphere, man. So good shout out on your part for sure.
All right, cool, man. Well, hey, when this stuff blows over, I'd love to get you guys up in the Powell for a night. And we'll hit the town up here, man. We'll hit the breweries, hit Huli Huli. That'd be a good time. That'd be a lot of fun.
We'll celebrate Don Henley's death.
Or his resurrection, however you want to look at it. Hey, but seriously, Columbus, Ohio, we love this. I hope everyone's digging Rock Ain't Pretty.
Hope everyone's had a lot of tequila.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, people.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. We absolutely have had a good time. Cheers to you. Doug, send us off, brother.
You got it, man. Hey, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. We will see you next week. If you'd like to join us on an episode or have some questions for us, send them our way. And we look forward to seeing you all. The Pretty Filth and Rock House would love to see all you at one of our shows, hopefully this summer or very, very soon. We love you guys. Thank you.
On delay, baby!
On delay, baby!